Okay, we got Darren McKee here. Fun background story on this guy. When I was first looking at LinkedIn, I saw all his posts. I would comment on some of his things. He would engage. I would post. He would comment on my stuff. And we actually hopped on a call for I think it was like 8 minutes total. One day while you were eating lunch, you had your kids jumping on you. You just hopped on a call. That conversation had a huge impact on me. Um, and now we've kind of been able to just follow each other here on LinkedIn. And your growth has been pretty crazy, man. So it's fun to hop in a call and talk to you about it today.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. I do remember that, and I think it goes back to that whole statement that I've said like all along is like I'm never too busy for an 8 minute call. And now we've got a friendship and a relationship in areas where we were able to support each other. And so I don't know. That's the beauty of picking up the phone and calling someone and jumping on really quick. And while you can't give an hour, a lot of times you can give a few minutes. So man, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to dive in a minute.
Absolutely. Okay, so the Simple but Hard podcast. Okay, I learned this in college because I transitioned to a catcher in college. And as I'm catching, I'm like, this is really simple. Like, it's not complicated what I'm trying to do. It's just really freaking hard to catch pitchers throwing 90 miles an hour and like do everything right. And so since then, I've seen the phrase simple but not easy all over the place. And like I was saying before, I used to think that the path to success was some secret shortcut that people wouldn't tell you. But I've learned it from myself and from talking to other people that it's just a simple but hard fundamental truth of whatever it takes to be successful. So when I think of you, I think of LinkedIn, prospecting, and SaaS bros. Now, I'd
Yeah.
love to hear some simple but hard fundamentals, wisdom, advice, download that you got. If you're going to teach on that, what's your go-to?
Man, those are three good ones. When I think of like LinkedIn, so we're just starting to go in order. So when I think about LinkedIn, I think, man, that happened fast. But then I look back and I'm like, man, that took a really long time. And I don't know that I focus much on the time as much as I focus on like the groundwork that I had to lay, like the hours that were like not successful, the mistakes like that I made. And so like it was hard. Like it was really, really difficult. But I always had like an end target. Like I always knew what where I wanted to be. And that those goalposts move, right? Like maybe it was this point and then this point. But I think like the simple but hard piece of that is like you look around and there are people like way many steps ahead of you. So there's a path there, but it's like how do you get there? And so for me, I focused on three things in that journey. It was consistency was number one. It was studying and like mastering the art of like what this whole like writing thing was. And number three was like I'll just quit if I'm not having fun. And those are the three things that I focus on. And I'm still staying consistent and I'm still learning from other people. And like I'm still having a blast doing it. And so like really freaking hard, but so worth it.
Interesting. So what was the hardest part about it? Was it the consistency? Was it like all the effort that you're putting in that not seeing much like return from it? What was that like?
Yeah, I think the hardest part, honestly, is just like putting your mug out into the world, like putting your face and your words out, because like once you put them on that platform, they're there forever, right? Like, and so like just like I would always think like, is this am I good enough? Like, do I have enough like experience to share this stuff? Are people gonna like laugh at me? And then I finally just realized that like, hey, if I impact like one person, like if one person sends me a DM and says thanks, like it's totally worth it. But that was the hardest part for me early on was like, am I worth it? Like, am I supposed to be talking about this stuff? And so that would probably be the first thing. And then the second piece that was like really, really difficult was like, man, I'm putting a lot of time into here and like I'm not making any money out of it. And I typically like if I put time into something like other than like a hobby, I want to be able to like monetize in some kind of way. And that started to come in different forms of monetization where I started to like X that word out. And it was like relationships, close deals from like social selling and inbound leads to job opportunities to eventually launching an entire business because of me creating content. So while it wasn't like dollars, it was like actual physical things that happened. So I had to like get over that hurdle, but those are the two things that were really probably the most difficult to overcome.
That's really cool. Okay, so going into prospecting, right? You talked a little about social selling, inbound. I'm super curious because you're actually a killer in prospecting on LinkedIn. I've seen some of your videos. You're really good, but you're also creating content. Talk through like what's the strategy? Again, the simple but hard. I'm sure it's way simpler than we think it is.
Yeah. This is going to be a really odd thing for me to say, and probably like 5% of the people listening will understand this. But I grew up in South Texas, and I was an avid hip hop fan, like since like I was 5 years old. In South Texas, when I was growing up, there was like a type of hip hop called like chopped and screwed, and it was totally different, and it was something that you'd like never heard before. And everybody was like, "What is happening?" And then all of a sudden, like everybody was doing it, and it was really it was cool and it was great. And then I still listen to that type of music. And so whenever I was like coming up in sales, everybody was cold calling, everybody was like sending like emails and putting people in sequences and cadences, and all that stuff is like amazing, and that should always be running on the back end. But I was like, man, I'm just gonna do something like totally different. Like I'm gonna go back to like my hip hop roots of Texas and try to do something totally different. And so I started with like creating content to my ideal client profile, like targeted right to them. Like, what is their pain? How do I make them read this? Let me engage with their stuff first so they actually see my stuff. So really like building a true like back and forth was really, really, really impactful. And then I started to like get into video and audio prospecting, and that's when like everything changed for me. It's like walking outside, taking a call, calling somebody, sending them a video. I was just trying to be different because I knew what type of messages they were getting every single day, and I just didn't feel like being deleted.
Interesting. So when you would reach out, I know I've seen some videos from you on like your framework, but share that. Like what's,
Yeah.
because you can send a video, but if you don't know what to say, then it might even be a knock on you rather than,
It can be, yeah, it can be a knock. And I'm always a fan of like, man, like I'm not trying to like have coffee with you or build a relationship with you just to sell you, right? Like I don't love that whole like world. Like
Yeah.
I'm proud to be in sales. Like it makes me super excited to be able to send a video to a prospect and say I can solve your problem. I don't have to have coffee with you. I don't have to be friends with you. I just know that I have a solution that can help you. And so like frameworks are really important for me because when I'm reaching out to, I typically prospect into VPs and C-suite. And so like, if I'm not solving their problem or teaching them something or showing them that I've actually done my research, they're not going to take my call, because a salesperson's job is to make your prospect's job easier. Right. And so my formatting in there is like, you talk about being simple but hard, like reading earnings calls, reading sustainability reports, learning their background, where they came from, what did they did at their prior organizations, and then referencing some of that stuff in the conversation. I think you can take 8 to 15 minutes researching that individual and have enough to send a 30-second video where you look like you know what you're talking about. When you lock that meeting in, now you have 15 days before that meeting. That's when you can go really, really, really deep and build an account plan and actually know what the heck you're talking about. So simple, but like really hard, and not many people do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good, man. Okay. SaaS Bros, let's finish it out. Talk about what that's been like to build a business. You guys have been building in public, which is super cool. And it has been really cool to follow along the journey as you guys share, and Eric shares a lot. What has that been like?
Kind of wild. I don't know. We just feel really, honestly, we feel really blessed. It's hard to talk about sometimes because like when we launched like a year ago, we had no idea what we were doing, right? Like it's like we were like coaching people for like $50 an hour or something. I don't even know. And then fast forward, like we had the solution to a really, really big problem. And that problem was a lot of people didn't have sales experience, but they were really smart and talented in other industries. And they didn't get the opportunities that like a B or C SaaS player did from another company going in. And we were like, this is dumb. And so we mapped our journey out and started to create around that and build some informational like digital assets for folks. And that kind of took off like wildfire. And then we realized that like, man, we actually have a business to where we can really impact lives and change the way this whole thing has worked. And I don't think it would have been possible without community-led growth first, and us like building a network and building true champions of like of us and our brand of like what we've stood for. Eric and I pride ourselves a lot on like we don't have very many enemies. We have a crap ton of competition. But we're all friends. Like we all know each other. We all help each other because there's a lot out there where we can support. So man, like looking back at it, like if I were to reflect back on it, super, super grateful. Moving forward, like it's going to be really awesome. We put a ton of work in over the last 6 months on building SaaS Bros community because quite frankly, like when you're building a startup, you get to a point where you're the bottleneck. And you need to have other help around you and support around you and ways to grow faster. So April's coming fast and a lot of big things are happening in April. So it's cool. And I'm just grateful to work for an organization that like champions that side hustle, which is really, really important for me. So anyway, man, that's SaaS Bros. And all of this stuff has been really, really difficult at times, but so worth it.
Wow. Well, Darren, that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing. Do you want to plug anything? Plug SaaS Bros? Where can people, if you follow you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, just follow LinkedIn. If you follow there, you'll see enough updates. We're like building out a content calendar for SaaS Bros Certified Hungry community. So if you follow us, you'll see a lot of stuff coming out soon. But man, I think my only plug would be plug to everybody that's helped us. And just like, I'm so grateful for guys like you and individuals all around the world that, 40 people in 47 countries bought our playbook in SaaS Bros. And that just makes me like, I don't know, it honestly makes me cry sometimes because it's like, if I impacted one person, I would have been happy. And here we are today doing some pretty remarkable stuff.
Well, you guys are the real deal, man. It's been fun watching and rooting for you and just seeing you succeed. So thanks for hopping on. This was amazing. And congrats on being the first guest.
Got it. Love it, brother. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks, Darren. Have a good one, man. Good luck on your proposals.
Thanks, man.
All right. Bye.